CPI, CPI, CPI. Will it all change today? The question is the Fed hiking period over with? We'll find out, of course, today with that CPI report. We'll get into Home Depot, Canadian Solar. How is the solar game? You guys let me know what you guys think about it. Of course, on holdings, we'll get into Amazon and Snapchat. Find out what happened in that deal. And of course, Fisker. Did we have this one right? Did we have it wrong? Will it ever? Hang on here. Find out, of course, on Premarket Prep. It's time to rise and shine, team. And of course, today we got the Red Dog in the house, T3 Live. You guys know him, Scott Redler. We'll get to the action. It's Premarket Prep. Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I'd buy that stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day. All right, team. I'm not the biggest rundown guy, but let's get to the action. Let's take a look at what's going on right now in the SPY. You can see we're pretty much going sideways. We did have a little bit of a pop there at a 441.42, but pretty close to the closing price. We got a closing price 440.20s, 440.73s, so maybe up about 50 cents there. Of course, we've been keeping a close eye on the TLT and the IWM relationship. You guys can see it here. Pretty much going the same direction. We'll keep an eye out on that to see if the TLT changes tunes. Of course, the Qs pretty much doing the same action there. Oil overall getting a little bit of a bounce back yesterday. You guys can see that with the USO. But right now we're trading at 78.17. We're going down here now. I'm wondering, do we get back below 75 range? I did see that the US kind of refilled on the reserves. We can talk a little bit about that during the show. GLD, gold, Bitcoin kind of action. Let's get to the show, of course. Let's bring on Dennis Dick. Let's talk about the action from yesterday. What did you see in the market, Dennis?
Again, it's been mixed as of late. You're seeing mega cap tech get hit a little bit yesterday because it's been the hiding place, and you actually saw some other stocks lifting a little bit. So it was kind of a weird day. That rotations are still there, though. Tesla had a good day. It's funny, Tesla had not been participating with the Magnificent Seven. We joked about, Netflix looks like it's trying to replace Tesla in the Magnificent Seven. And then all the other six have kind of a crappy day, and Tesla has a good day. So, the rotations here are continuous, and it's real. And if you can get ahead of those rotations, there is some money to be made. Today, it's all about the CPI. We know what today is. We're going to be choppy. We're choppy ahead of it right now. We're going to be choppy for the next 27 minutes, I would imagine, as traders are coming in positioning ahead of this number, whether they're hedging up or making directional bets on it. CPI today is going to drive the bus.
Yeah, and definitely going to be part of our question of the day, right? Is the Fed hiking period over? So I'll throw it out to the chat too. So I want you guys to go ahead and put Fed if you guys think they're going to continue hiking, and then put no if it's done. So let me know in the chat. Let's talk about it, Dennis.
I'll wait till 8:31 to vote.
That'd be smart too, right? That's why
I want the edge.
You know how I am. I try to put them on the spot beforehand. Like traders, we always got to make decisions. So you guys let me know what you guys are looking at in the chat. This consensus, of course, is to see an increase of 0.1 from the prior month and 3.3 on an annualized basis. That annualized basis is getting pretty close to that 2%, right, Dennis? That's not too bad, right? 3.3, 2%. We're only
come down a long ways.
Yeah,
a long ways. Again, if you believe the numbers too, because
that's the hard part, right?
Change the definition.
Yeah. We're not talking about real inflation. We're talking about statistical,
the fake inflation.
I call it statistical.
And that's what they care about. The Fed only cares about the fake inflation, the 2%. So the 2% was never real, but it's at least what everybody they put in the headlines, and that's the fake inflation. Some people get really mad at us, but it's the truth.
Yeah,
the way they calculate it. We've had Gil Morales on here. We've had multiple people, looking, there's been studies done on it. Obviously, Peter Schiff talks about it as well all the time. If they calculated inflation the way they did 25 years ago, inflation runs 5 to 6 points hotter. but they don't. So this is fake inflation. These are the numbers the market cares about.
I see majority of no's out there, but there's definitely some yeses out there. And I think that's important in the Fed continuing maybe to raise rates. Of course, something that we'll be watching is the core CPI index, of course, expected to rise 0.3 month over month and at 4.1 year over year. Now, one thing I think that's important to notice is both of these are saying increases, right? So if we could somehow get a decrease, that would definitely help the market here in this case, right? Especially if we're expecting an increase. So
oh gosh, if we see it actually down from the expectations, I mean, this market would lift big time. It's gonna move.
Yeah.
It's gonna move on the number. Like we can say stuff is priced in. Nothing really gets priced in here. I mean, we have examples all over the place, even from some of our earnings, that really, nothing is ever priced in. Canadian Solar showing you that right now today, this morning. Down 13%. Solar, oh my gosh, Canadian Solar didn't do well. There's no solar company doing well, but nothing is priced in.
Yeah, we'll see if Jerome is yelling out there, close the door, because you never know what might happen, guys. We'll see what happens on CPI. Of course, that's going to be at 8:30. Let's keep it rolling. Let's get to Home Depot's report. Home Depot Q3 EPS at $3.81 beats the $3.58 estimate. Sales of $37.71 billion beat the $35.66 billion estimate. Home Depot's Q3 comparable sales down 3.1%. Comparable sales in US down 3.5%. And Home Depot narrowed their fiscal 23 outlook in sales growth of 3 to 4% and EPS growth of 9 to 11% year over year. What do you think of the Home Depot report here and the action, Dennis?
Well, the quarter is fine, but you still don't like those Q3 comps down 3.1% from the previous year. It's telling you people are doing a little bit less. So again, big ticket stuff here. Year over year sales growth declining here as well. Still going up, but declining. I think in 2024, Home Depot is going to struggle as well. So I think as you get lifts on these stocks towards the end of 2023, I think you're selling these companies. So I know Home Depot is a fantastically run company, management excellent, best of breed even with Lowe's, but Lowe's is solid too. Charts are virtually identical. I pair trade these things all the time. I just think I don't want to be in this in 2024. So do you get a lift here? Can you get up to 300 again? Maybe, but it's not the kind of stock I want to be in. I'm buying tech on dips. I'm not, and this isn't a dip. This is a small pop. It's just not, this is a company I would sell out of my portfolio and buy other tech stocks. So just kind of reallocating resources away from recession stocks, like full on Home Depot would be considered a recession stock. Meaning it's not going to do well in a recession.
And normally, at least from my case, Home Depot is more like a summer stock, right? Like, that seasonality, spring, summer.
Seasonal.
And I think that's also something to keep in mind too. It's in the wintertime, maybe they're selling some snow blowers or something like that. But other than that, I think the sales will be coming down also, especially if the consumer's getting tight, right, Dennis? Like, let's just be honest.
That's what I'm saying.
And the consumer's getting tight. They're not going to go and spend a whole bunch of money in Home Depot this winter. So let's just be careful with this and other consumer stocks, right? I have been taking some shots, though, in retail. So I want to bring that up really quick. XRT is one way that I'm playing this, of course. So I got that one yesterday. I've been actually on Friday. So now 2-day hold. And that's a current price of.
You're long XRT?
Yeah. 59.
Tell us why. Why? Obviously,
this is seasonality play. More into seasonality, right? Retailers trying to get the move into Black Friday, into the holidays, and I think that the Santa Claus rally is going to come early this year, and then going into January, there'll be more concern if the consumer is really slowing down or not. So I played it different ways. XRT is one way to maybe play it. I also went on a swing trade with Best Buy. Got that yesterday.
Really?
So taking it off the lows, and a lot of this
I don't mind these calls.
Reversing the trend. Yeah, the contrarian for sure. These stocks have been going down. We all know how we've been looking at them recently, right? So I'm looking to see if we can get some maybe Black Friday rallies, things like that. And then the last one, just to mention one more that I have, is Ulta. And I like to give you guys these, not necessarily because I'm trying to cherry pick or anything, Like some of these are just slightly up. Ulta, I got 388.22s. So it's not like I'm far from here. But I'm looking to see if this can reverse trend also. This has already come down a significant amount since pretty much 7 months ago. It's down about 30%. And so I'm just thinking maybe we get ourselves a little bit of some holiday rally. What do you guys think in the chat? Do you think we'll get some retailers rally? Say yes or no. It's always good to get your opinion out there. Dennis, what would you think? Holiday
I like
rally?
the Black Friday trade. I wouldn't put it on before the CPI because it's too much of a gamble. So
Yeah, it's too much of a
gamble.
gamble.
If I was you, I would have waited until probably even after PPI tomorrow because I know we're going to go back to back, right? CPI, PPI. I'd probably like to be thinking about like Thursday. It's a week ahead. So Black Friday, obviously, we're talking about, I believe, November 23rd, correct? November 23rd is, well, Black Friday would be the 24th of Thanksgiving, the 23rd.
Yeah, right after.
So 24th. So you're about 10 days ahead of it. I'd probably wait a couple days just to get this data because the data comes in hot and they're going to hammer everything. But again, it's a little bit, of a gamble too because the data comes in light. These things are going to rip. But I don't mind the contrarian call. And I think there is going to be a play for some retailers ahead of Black Friday. I love that seasonality. I think next Monday, we're looking at being long these stocks.
We'll see what happens, guys. I'll keep up with it. And of course, you guys can keep up with this on live trading. That's the show, of course, after this one, right? Let's get to Canadian Solar, CSIQ. I think that bar says it all, but Q3 EPS here at 32 cents versus $1.12 just last year. Sales at 1.85 billion, missed the 2.03 billion estimate, and Canadian Solar expects Q4 revenues at 1.6 billion to 1.8 versus a 2.65 billion estimate. Massively undercutting that Q4 revenue. This is why even last night I was thinking about shorting like ENPH. I was like, man, these solar stocks, what are they doing bouncing, man? Every time I see these stocks bounce, I'm like, man, should I just come after them?
Opportunities.
Yeah,
they need lower
like
rates. These stocks will continue to be depressed as long as the TLT is low. These are TLT plays. TLT starts getting above 90, you start thinking about solar stocks. TLT below 90, don't touch. That's my opinion here. Could they bounce? Yeah, we've seen them bounce, but all these stocks that are dependent on their customers getting financing to buy their products, again, we're going to continue to say this on the show. They're not saying it enough on major media sources, but that is the pattern here. If you need financing to buy your product, you're in the gutter. CSIQ also has a hell of a lot of debt, I believe, as well. Go look at this thing.
Yeah, let's take a look
Solar, yes, $1.35 billion market cap, $1.24 billion in debt. So just as much debt. You look at the PE and you think, wow, 3, how can I go wrong? Well, now that PE is going to start to climb up here because these things are not making as much money. They miss. So Q3 EPS estimates for this quarter were 82 cents. It came in at 32. So they missed by a landslide here too. It's just a mess. Solar is an absolute mess. The only way it starts turning around is if rates actually start going lower.
Yeah, and at least monthly levels, I'd give around 1462. But is that going to hold? I don't know, man. It's been a disaster. 7 months, 59.43% down. That's pretty hard. And I'm not catching this falling knife by any means necessary unless the current environment changes, right? This is the hero kind of play because it doesn't make sense in the current environment. It doesn't make sense in the technicals. It doesn't make sense in the fundamentals. You'd be playing hero trying to play this story, right?
And again, you get bounces and people do make money trading bounces, and eventually all stocks do bounce at a certain point in time. But, if you were playing the bounce here, it'd say, I'm buying it at 30. Well, you got your bounce at 25 to 27, but you're still underwater. And now you're looking at it down here at 17. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm in this from 33 months ago and I'm just crushed. What happened? What happened? Rates higher for longer. That's what happened.
Let's go to the on. We've been watching this one after the recent pop. Let's get to the daily chart so you guys can see that on the right-hand side. Now taking a little bit of a hit on holding Q3 adjusted EPS, 23 cents, beats the 16-cent estimate. Sales of 543.2 million, beat the 515.37 million estimate. They raised fiscal year 23 revenue guidance. Things didn't look too bad on the report yet. Not the reaction that you'd want to see there on holdings.
How low? Can you bring up the pre-market chart here? How low do we get here, Mitch?
We've bounced a little bit. Extreme was going to be 23.48.
Okay, so we've already rallied $1.50 here. There is underneath demand for this stock. It's still got the story behind it. It's funny you bounce right at the 2023 low base. Well, not the 2023 low because that was back in March, but the recent low of the move here, October. It's interesting. These Joel Elconin levels sometimes do come into play. So it bounces right at the October, the 6-month low here. Starts to come up. I think the low for the day is in. I think this is the kind of stock that they are buying on dips. They're not buying Canadian Solar on dips. Like, that's not the kind of stock they're buying on dips, but they're buying tech. And this storied retailers, it's not a tech stock, but it's still a storied retailer that a lot of people like this story and they're looking to allocate money into. This one could get bought on dips, but I'm not buying anything for another 15 minutes till I see the CPI. So I'm not coming in here saying, yep, I'm coming in here, buy in, put this in the long-term portfolio, make some money, and then CPI runs me over. I'm not going to let CPI run me over. I'm not going to let PPI run me over. No trades or buys in the long-term portfolio until after tomorrow when I get the data. Give me the information. I'm an information trader. I need to know what the CPI numbers are to make my next trading decision.
Like that level you gave, of course, 53.50, pretty much there, bottom multiple times. You got an extreme there of 23.41, but yeah, reversing right off of that level. And then look where it reversed off on the resistance. Right off that resistance also. So at least this one is trading off resistance and support. That's one thing that I look at, right? Because if stocks can trade off of patterns, resistance, support, at least it gives me an ability to come in here and understand my risk and reward, right? That's what I always want to understand when I'm in trades. So at this case, now that you got that bounce, you know where you would need to go, right? If it cuts 23.50, yeah, you probably don't want to be in this one anymore, but it is starting to bounce back. We'll see what happens.
Bounce right where it should bounce.
And
that's good news.
Nike's been on a little bit of a pullback recently. It went above the 100. I watched this 100 move. I was watching it kind of get that lift. It's pulled back a little bit. So I'm going to keep watch on Nike and on together to see today if maybe Nike starts to push and we could get maybe a little rally in these kind of footwear accessory kind of outlook there. We'll see what happens there on and Crocs. Usually does good in the holidays. It hasn't done good as of late.
There's going to be a bounce trade here too. Maybe this is one we think about ahead of Black Friday because it is a contrarian call here. I don't know when they report. When is Crocs due to report?
Let's take a look right quick. I got you. It'll take 2 seconds.
Yeah,
Benzinga Pro. Benzinga Pro has that for us on the calendar here. So I have the. Oh, I think we already got our reported, right?
Did we already get it?
Yeah, I think we got it here on the 2nd, but let me
That's probably, the gap down. I didn't even notice on the chart, the gap down there on the 2nd.
Yeah, on the 2nd.
So we already have the Crocs report. Okay, well, that's good. So the earnings, we don't have to worry
about.
You've
gotten through it. Exactly. You've gotten through it.
And it bounced off of it. So that earnings low is a big number, 74 for this stock. And I do think, I love your idea. We haven't talked about this. I love your pre-Black Friday idea. Just worried you're a little bit early. But if CPI comes in light, you're going to be happy to have that trade on already here. So
and then the McDonald's Crocs. You didn't hear about the McDonald's?
Have this list for Monday. Yeah, did you see? No, I didn't. McDonald's.
You didn't hear that? They're doing a deal together.
Are they?
Yeah, they're gonna get the McDonald's Crocs out, man.
Cool, like chicken nugget Crocs.
Yeah, a little chicken nugget, little logo or whatever, a little pin there. Hey, that's how it is. We'll see what happens.
Crocs,
this is the only
Best Buy going on my list for next week.
I love
Black Friday trades.
Love it. Let's keep it moving. Let's go
Best
to
Buy
an
especially.
interesting
I love
one.
Best Buy on Black Friday.
We don't talk too much about C Limited, but let's get to the actual, of course, specialty retail here. Q3 sales of $3.3 billion beat the $3.12 billion estimate. EPS at a loss of 26 cents versus the loss of $1.01 year over year. So at least a year over year comparison, not the worst, but definitely still losing money here. What do you think about C Limited?
They were supposed to make, though, 12 cents this quarter, and they lost 26 cents. So that is a definite miss here. It's stocks getting beat up. You do have support down here. It's bouncing where it should bounce as well. I mean, I'm not going down to the 36. I don't think the stock was going to lose 25% on this report. So I'm going to those more recent lows. You see where I'm looking, money, Mitch.
Exactly.
That recent low just under $40, $39.12, where they washed them out a little bit. You probably got some back and fill in here. I know we got a little bit lower than that today, down in 38.5. That's a critical level. Needs to hold the 39.12. Levels working here.
Yeah, this is one that I'd be looking at that 40 hold dollar because you just got kind of a hold on that on the hourly at the 8 a.m. 39.95. You just kind of wicked below it. I would love for an attempt to get to 40 and then bounce right off of that. So maybe it even goes to like 39.90s, but a quick sweep back of buyers through 40 is something that I'd be looking at. Of course, the CPI will depend on this. If we can get like a bullish rally, maybe it can already start making up some of these losses. I don't trade SE too often, but we'll see what happens with the action. I'll keep up with it on live trading. Of course, you guys can see that next. Let's keep moving. I got a lot to talk about today. You guys in the chat, smash the like button. We haven't been getting enough likes out there, so show us that you guys appreciate us talking multiple topics today and keeping it moving. Let's go to Amazon and Snap. But of course, I'm just going to bring Snapchat's art to describe this, as it looks like we have a deal with Amazon and Snapchat here. Of course, this is really with Meta, as Amazon will allow Snapchat users in the US to buy certain products offered off the e-commerce platform directly in Snap. And this was reported by Reuters. Users will be able to buy directly from Amazon Snapchat ads and check out without leaving Snapchat. I think this is very important, that you don't have to go from app to app, right? And then, of course, prospective buyers would also be able to view real-time pricing, prime eligibility, delivery expectations, and product details on certain Amazon product ads in Snapchat under the new experience. So big deal here between Amazon and Meta, and of course, including Snap.
Obviously, Amazon doesn't care about this at all. It's just moving on to the S&P. Snap moves up, though, because you get anything with Amazon, it's going to give a lift here. It's been crawling its way back. I mean, obviously, out of the big three, like pure, like we're talking social platforms, Pins, Snap, and Meta, we know this has been worst of breed. Is there a catch-up trade here? Maybe. It's still the worst of breed, though. I mean, Pins has been unbelievable the way it's held up. Elliott probably helping that as well. Been so much better than Meta's near all-time highs. So there's definitely a different story that's happened in Snapchat. It's just been a disaster story, really, is what it's been. Way off from, the highs when it was back at $40. Is there a comeback in here? There's a gap in here. Maybe you could fill that up to 1267. But I still think you sell the stocks that are trending down overall on reps, and you buy good companies on dips. I think this is one of the former, meaning it's not a good company.
All right, you got 1252 there to fill the gap. We're at 1194. Does it make sense to fill that gap? Yeah, I can see that gap getting filled today. We'll see what happens. Of course, CPI report, maybe looking for pullbacks in towards the kind of 1150s, 1160s. I see as support right now in the pre-market. We'll look to see if it fills that gap. That's a good outlook there, Dennis. Nice little catch there on that little gap spot. It would make sense to maybe get there, but one thing to note, I mean, hey, 20 days, 30% rally. At some point, you got to be careful if this starts to pull back. Let's do Fisker. This is an interesting one. And Dennis, you and I need to admit that maybe we got this one wrong early. Will we have it wrong for the investment? That's the one thing that we need to think about, right? Of course, Fisker's Q3 EPS coming in here at a loss of 27 cents versus the loss of 49 cents year over year. Total revenues at 71.8 million versus 109.029 million estimate. They also raised 450 million during Q3, bringing its cash and cash equivalents to a restricted cash to 625 million. I think this is important because at the end of the day, what's going to be needed here is survival, right? This is not the current environment for auto manufacturers. We've talked about how the game has also changed into focusing on margins, not just the products themselves, but where's the profitability, right? That's why you see companies like Ford and GM going to struggle even more. And that's why I'm also concerned about Tesla. Fisker here just needs to survive, just like Lucid. They're
trying to survive. And Lucid has a better chance to survive because it's got the Saudis behind it. And I've said before, I don't think Fisker is a zero. I'm not sure. It was, when I was saying this 6 months ago, we weren't in this TLT environment where it's just crushed and rates are going higher. I mean, you're trying to do you're a startup EV firm trying to get your footing, and then rates explode on you. It's just, they may be a victim of, they may just be a victim of their environment, and it may end up being a zero just because of rates. So I do like Henrik Fisker. I was in this stock a few times. I actually, believe it or not, this was one of my best stocks. 2020 was unbelievable. The stock went from, and like we started talking about, I know you were talking about $12, $13, end up going to 30. I've played a few times from the long side in the long-term account and done well with it. And I had it as recent as 6 months ago. And the reason I sold this was when rates started ticking higher. I just didn't want to own anything. I bought it at like $7.50 and I sold it at like $6.50 on the last time. So I lost about $1 on it. And the reason for that was, and I should have sold everything then. I sold because I worried about rates going higher, but I should have sold all my lithium stocks then. I should have sold everything then. When rates started ticking higher, it was just a sign, like TLT started going lower, sign to sell anything with debt, time to sell anything that depends on customers getting financing, sell at GNRC. Would have been good to sell then too. Hindsight capital is always 2020 though. But again, listen to the show, continue to listen to the show, because the story is continuously changing. You know, you'll say, oh yeah, Dennis was bullish Fisker 2 years ago. He's wrong. Yeah, but we've turned around and changed that opinion. So it's okay to be wrong, not okay to stay wrong.
Yeah, I think this is definitely something to kind of keep watch. Also, is just the price, right? I mean, their extreme is 61,000. Their cheapest Ocean is at 39,000. Right?
Oh, that's meaningless though, Mitch. Really, it's not even the price. It's the fact that auto companies are just not doing well right now. Tesla, which is best of breed in everything. They're not just best of breed in EV. Tesla is best of breed in auto. The margins are the best. They don't market. I mean, they put almost $0 into marketing, and their cars are popping up all over the place. Everything Elon Musk has been done well. I mean, it's just valuation for me, but there's no doubt who best of breed is. Even that stock, it's come back in the last couple of days here, and it's having an okay day today. There was some news out of China, but I mean, overall here, it's struggling too. It's just the environment we're in. When you have rates higher for longer, people are putting off that new car purchase.
And we'll see what happens with Tesla if it can really start rallying back. One of the things that I say is important is catch the end of the month, right? End of the month, the Cybertruck will get released. That's when I think it could maybe get a little bit of a pop. So we'll see if maybe it gets front-run into that event. Of course, the Cybertruck to be released at the end of the month, and they're going to have a Cybertruck event. What will that consist of? Of course, you know, kind of like an unveiling, but we'll see what happens with that if it gives Tesla the lift. All right, guys, it's 8:27. We got to get ready here for CPI in just a second. Dennis,
I'm going to try to stay with you because I don't want to leave you by yourself.
I can handle
it.
I can handle it.
I might get caught my words here because there's going to be some moves.
Yeah, there's going to be some moves, guys. So I'm
going
to give you guys
a live show is never easy.
Yeah, no, that's for sure, guys. And I'll tell you one thing, I got a bunch of positions on. So if you see me working, you guys will, I might even
both
just
of us
do it live
right
for
now.
you. I might even do it live for you guys.
Swing trades on. I have no swing trades on. They're all day trades, and I'm pretty hedged up. I'm a little bit, I'm a little bit short. I'm uncomfortably short. I'd like to get hedged in the next minute here. I may have to buy some SPY, just hedge myself up a little bit because I'm just a little bit short.
We'll see what happens. Like always, guys, we'll stick around. Of course, let's give the outlook one more time here. Consensus is for an increase of 0.1 in the prior month, 3.3 on the annualized basis. Then we get to the core, which is a rise of 0.3 and a comparison of 4.1 year over year. I'm going to get ready here to also just pull the CPI report for you guys and give you guys a little bit of an outlook really quickly. Of course, how do I do this? Well, the good old fashioned AI, baby. That's what I'll be using here, Dennis. As soon as that report comes out, you think I read? Come on, man. There's no reading time anymore. You got bots out there.
You use this, eh? This AI stuff. I don't use it at all.
Come on, Dennis. I gotta start teaching you, my friend.
You gotta start teaching me. I started AI a trade for me, and I can just go to bed.
Just put it this way: when you get earnings reports, you think humans are reading those anymore?
I do.
Oh, come on, man.
I leaf through them. I only ever read the headlines, though.
Dennis, come on,
I'm a headlines trader.
You don't need to anymore. It'll go into it and pull out every little important detail for you. Why do you think the bots are being faster? That's one thing that I need to talk about. It's something to think about in the future, right? As AI advances, will the bots be faster?
Always. Everything keeps getting faster. There's no doubt. Everything keeps getting faster. Okay, 30 seconds here. What's the preview? What's the numbers they're previewed once more time?
0.1 month, 3.3 year over year. Then we get to core. That's a 0.3 raise on the month over month and a 4.1 year over year outlook. Let's see what happens here, guys.
Get ready for some fireworks, folks.
Dun, dun, dun. Are we going
scared.
wide? Oh, yeah, we going wide, baby. Let me
what
go to my
is
main
gonna
chart
happen
here.
here? Oh yeah, we're wide. Heck yeah! This if you're ever gonna go wide, it's on this number. Going
wide. And what do we mean by going wide? You guys will see my light blue line.
Oh, it's hot. It's good. It's good number. It's good number.
Okay, let's see what happens here, guys. I'm looking for the number. You guys out there, let me know if you guys see it come in. I will be pulling it here. Still not seeing it here.
Oh, wow. It's
There
light.
it is. Core at 0.3 versus 0.3. That's 0.1 light. Then year over year CPI coming in at 3.2 versus 3.3. So that's light. The core at 4% versus 4.1. So there you guys have it. It came in at 0. It just unchanged. At the month over month was 0.1 increase. It came in at 0, prior being 0.4. So an unexpected unchange here. And
That's an explosion.
there you
in the
guys see it.
TLT exploding to the upside. We just rallied $1 on the TLT. We just rallied $3 on SPY. It was rallied 30 handles on this number, folks. Huge pop, huge pop. This gives full, food for, we're done. Fed's done. They're done. That's what the market's going to be saying. And that's what the market is applauding here right now. This is a rip your face off. If you're on the bear side here, it's a rip your face off. You'll be happy you got some of those swing longs right now, Money Mitch.
That's why I didn't
should put those
at all.
swing longs on ahead of you. Holy, we're up 40 handles right now.
Yeah, man.
40 handles. Holy.
This is going to be something to definitely take a look at. Right now, I'm pulling through the report here to give you guys the outlook of exactly why this is increasing.
The stocks can't even keep up. The stocks cannot keep up with the S&P. It's ripping so fast. That's the biggest move we've seen off CPI in months.
So in the report, of course, given here is that the index for shelter continuing to rise in October, offsetting a decline in the gasoline index. Of course, we saw gasoline prices come down recently. This resulted in a seasonally adjusted index being unchanged. The energy index fell 2.5% over the month as a 5% decline in the gasoline index more than offset increases in other energy component index. The food index, though, increasing 0.3% in October after rising 0.2 in September. Now let me go to shelter here to kind of point that out. Shelter is at 0.3. Yeah, 0.3 from a recent 0.6. Still not seeing that change in shelter. That's going to be the inflation that sticks around. But look at the rally in the TLT, man. And the TLT yesterday was kind of hanging in there, not really doing much. Well, this just got it lifting. Look at the 4-hour chart here.
Why you don't make calls ahead of CPI. Holy, this is, if you have shorts on, you are absolutely
on the wrong
right
side.
now.
Yeah.
They are squeezing like to death the shorts on this, squeezing them to death. Wow.
Yeah,
I don't
this
know
is exactly that. Look at the Qs. Look at the Microsoft move. Apple going higher to 187. Wow. And Apple's been already on a run, right? Microsoft has already been on a run. Now it looks like an insane run, right? This is a 13% move higher from the recent rally there. And the Q's definitely taking a nice lift. I'll go around and see what else is making moves. How are the banks moving on this? Banks
Everything
going
is
higher.
Moving. So IWM is ripping 2% right now. 2% move in the IWM. When's the last time it did that? Wow.
Hourly chart, I can't even find a move like that. 2% on the hourly, be very rare. I see a 1.9, but I still don't see a 2% move. Next stop for the IWM is going to be important around the 175 level today. I'll be watching to see if we can get up there. That's going to be where you can run into a little bit of some resistance right around here. But that's ways away. That's still 2 points now. We're seeing a nice little lift off of this. And I'm not feeling too negative about my swing trades, at least. That's not looking too bad here.
Yeah, you're buying dips. I mean, this is where we are. We're in the seasonal period here. Ryan Dietrich's had this, he was a little bit early, but he had it spot on with that 5-day rally, saying this is the best 5 days historically. And we went through that. And then we just sat here and we consolidated for a little bit. And now we get the news that this market's been waiting for. The CPI comes in light. We got the dollar getting hammered here right now. We got the TLT exploding. We got the IWM having its best day in months. I mean, everything is to like here for sure. I mean, if you're sitting here, are we still in this sell the risk, buy the dips? I think we're seeing F450. I think we start thinking about S&P 450 here now. So SPY 450, 4,500.
Yeah, and when I see this type of rally, it tells me for a second there, we started seeing a decline in the momentum names, a pullback. Now I'm like, okay, momentum names probably back on here as we're getting this kind of rip. So Is it going to be kind of that risk on type of day, Dennis? Do you think we see that?
Oh, it's risk on type of day. Of course it's a risk on day. I mean, they are buying everything across the board. You're having trouble finding anything that's down. Defensive stocks, Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, NOC trading in the red. I'm just cherry picking what I see, but everything is exploding, especially those small caps that really need lower rates. So all of a sudden, boom, we get data that, hey, maybe it's green light go for small caps. Let's bring Red Dog in here in this conversation. We're getting this breaking, unless he's in a fast market too. Maybe
he's in a fast market. I can tell because I don't have him in just yet. So
we're waiting for him. So he's probably waiting until this number is done here. I don't blame you. I wish I wasn't. I wish if Joel was here right now, I would not be here right now. But I don't want you running the show by yourself.
Hey, no worries, Dennis. If you need to hop out for a second, go get some trades on. You can hop out.
And
for
people
5.
saying, am I selling everything? Nope. Why? Because look at what the IWM has done. We have checked back. We had consolidated. We didn't make new lows. We were waiting to get some direction from the TLT, and we just got it here. So all of a sudden, not only the mega cap tech, and don't be surprised if you actually see the mega cap tech, not be the leaders here today. So it would not surprise me if you actually do see some rotation out of the mega cap tech. We're seeing buy everything across the board. We're 6 minutes after the number. But I think it wouldn't surprise me if you see a little bit of rotation, short-term rotation, out of some of the winners maybe and into some of these laggards that are in the IWM, because there's a pile of small caps that need lower rates. They need a lot more than Apple needs it. We've talked about 0% financing, obviously, on, iPhones. Well, there's not 0% financing and everything else. So you think all those autos and everything else, it's just been ugly. This is the numbers they need. They need the rates to go lower. They need the long-term rates to go lower. So this is a big lift, very important day. Need that TLT to keep going. You don't want to see it start leaking here, but this number was everything that the Bulls wanted.
I'm with you, Chad. Echo Delta. Yes, it is definitely that day where it's money. Watch out there, team. We'll see what happens, but the market definitely ripping higher on this CPI report. And I mentioned it, and I was like, what if we come in a little bit light? How would the markets react? Well, we got our answer, right? There you guys see it. And for a question of the day that was, is the Fed hiking period over? What would you say about that, Dennis?
Yeah. I mean, I thought they were at the end after this number. They're not. I think it's definitely on pause, full. They're not lowering. It's not like, oh my gosh, we got to start going lower rates now because we're beating CPI. That's not happening. But I think the rate cycle, I think the hiking was already almost done. I think this number puts another nail into the coffin big time. I mean, we get PPI tomorrow. Maybe it shows a different story here, but right now, Bulls, again, everything they wanted in this number. And I think, the TLT is loving it.
That's definitely certain. We can clearly see that. We're going to go ahead and bring Red Dog on in just a second, guys. So definitely smash the like. And now it's time to look for opportunities, right? We've been seeing a lot of stocks that have been ripping. Where do you see opportunities? I'll definitely ask Scott coming up here. But definitely look around, team. If you have a shopping list, today's that day to already have it next to you, right? And I think that's what Dennis talks about all the time, right? It's not necessarily do the shopping list when you see the price action, but have the shopping list ready so that when you do see that turn, you can jump on it. We'll see what happens.
Bring up the IWM again. Look at this move. It's up 2.68%. SPY's only up 1.14. Massive outperformance here. QQQ is actually starting to leak a little bit. IWM having none of the leak. They're like, no way, man. This is what the IWM needed more than anything. Way more than the SPY needed. Way more than the Qs needed. The IWM needed this number here because it has been an epic disaster, all because of rates. And this helps that. It helps that cause. So TLT ripping, IWM ripping as well. I like to see it. IWM is a big part of my long-term portfolio, which has been not good because of that, but I like to see it.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and switch to our T3 live segment here. Of course, Scott Redler about to join us. You guys check him out, and he is going to be having a live 2-day pass to the virtual trading floor where he addresses the future of AI and what it means for the markets, highlighted by NVIDIA's earnings on November 21st. So you might want to catch that. You guys know I'm going to be watching this. Let's get to our interview. Red Dog, what's going on? How we doing? Of course, Scott Redler here. It's Chief Strategic Officer at T3 Live and T3 Trading Group. It's good to have you. I catch you often on the 6 a.m. as, you know, us that like to wake up early and do some work on the early side. But it's good to see you today. What are you catching on this CPI report number? You excited about this?
Well, here's the thing. As an active trader, you almost have to be involved heading into it. And anytime you have a binary event, you have to be careful because you need to quantify your risk. So I was listening to Dennis talk about the IWM. You know, I'm glad it's in his portfolio and it's been a disaster, which is true. But I don't know how fast you you are as an active trader once you get the number. You know, the reaction's so fast. So what I did with, you know, with my active trader audiences, I bought options heading into it. So if you're wrong, it's defined. If you're right, you're getting paid. So if you remember last week when the IWMs had that move to 175-ish, which was on like November 3rd, if you put that IWM chart, you know,
yeah, put up, Mitch.
Got it up right there.
For the potential of this happening for the Friday of Thanksgiving. So instead of being so short term, you know, because, you know, who knows exactly what happens, I went out to the 24th of November that day, and I was wrong for the last few days. And then yesterday, you know, with the guys on the Alpha team, I'm like, you know what, why don't we buy some Friday calls just in case everyone hates it, and all of a sudden, boom, the IWM calls are going to be up a few 100%. And if I was wrong, I was only risking like $1.10, you know. So basically, into an event like this, it's like you have to make your decisions kind of prior, and then have levels to look at after the reaction. Now, you know, this is not this open. You can't get excited now. You know, we just had a 2.5 week move heading into bigger resistance. The SPYs are opening up 5 and change. The Qs are opening up 6 and change. Most stocks are getting follow through. So for an active trader who does not take longs or shorts, you know what, they're probably like, oh my goodness, I missed everything. But that's why we talk about how if you develop as a trader over time, you know, you could have an active account, a swing account, an option account, and try and figure out how to do all those things together so you can make, you know, real money in the market versus, you know, just scalping. But again, I will say you have to start somewhere. You know, not everyone can take overnights, not everyone has risk, especially for those who've been trading for a year, might be in their early 20s. But that's why, you know, it's a process. And if you did miss this move, what it's going to do is it's going to create better movement for, you know, the weeks and months ahead. So don't be upset about it.
Scott, can we move you a little bit closer to your mic, maybe? You're just
Yeah,
a little bit
I
light.
think it
We
might
can
be
hear
that
you,
it's.
but yeah, because
I'm
when you,
on my phone. You know, I'm not the best with technology, and I couldn't find the email with the link, so I'm on my phone right now, so I look probably a little distorted, but I do apologize. Tomorrow I'll make sure I have or next time around I'll have a better situation with the
okay.
computer. Now is it better?
It's still quiet. It's still quiet for some reason.
Here,
Maybe
let me try to do something here on my
Mitch
side.
gonna try in the background because we love you and we want to hear everything. And some people are complaining, like, and again, you're just a little bit light. I can hear you, but we got to like struggle to hear you a little bit. We'll make sure you get that link next time too.
There.
Do you want to try and send the link to my T3 Live right now, and I'll go through my computer. It might sound better. We'll just
do it.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. We'll give you a second to go ahead and do that. We'll
Send him the link
on. I'll make sure. Yeah, I'll make sure that you get it right to your email there. And we'll bring you right back on.
We'll bring you right back on. We're gonna bring you off for 3 minutes here. We'll get that link. We'll get you reset up, and then we'll bring you on, and we'll have you on for the back part of the show.
Yeah, we want Scott, so we'll give you.
We got to hear this content because he called this. I saw his tweet this morning. He was calling this IWM ahead of time. So great call, Scott. He kills it, man. Scott's been coming on this show for basically the 10 years we've been doing this show. Red Dog, he hasn't been on recently, but he's been coming on this show way back in the day. He's always one of our regular guests.
All right, there you go. I see his email there. It's T3 Live email there. I'll get it to him right now. Guys, just give me 2 seconds.
Mitch working in the background. So let's just give you, you know, we continue to go higher here. I mean, IWM 2.78% here now, basically highs of the session. Incredible move here. If I'm looking at just cherry picking stocks, banks are ripping higher. Again, mega cap tech is up, but it's not up as much as a lot of other things. Macy's up 2.5%. Nordstrom, Kohl's, stocks that have just been beat up, stocks that we've hated because, you know, we've been talking about this rates being the issue, but we started talking. We even said this morning, TLT starts to get above 90, getting close to 90. A lot of these stocks are going to get a lot more interesting. Well, all of a sudden today, they get a lot more interesting. Again, I'm never one to chase though. So you start thinking, okay, you get that check back. maybe that's the opportunity. Maybe that's the time to get in it when you get that little check back. Because right now, I tell you, there is, people who, maybe bearish, people who maybe, are sitting short right now, scratching their head saying, not even scratching their head, they're crawling under their desk and thinking, I don't even know what to do here. Deer caught in the headlights, because this is a rip your face off short squeeze if you're short right now.
All right, let's see if we got Scott back here. I think it's fixed there. Let's go ahead. Let's bring him on here. How we doing, Scott?
I'm doing well. Sorry about that.
Perfect.
All right.
Now you're
This is what
awesome.
we're
We want to
talking
hear the
about.
content, man. I got to hear. And I was just giving you props when you were off, because I saw your tweet this morning. You retweeted, I forget who you retweeted, but you're talking about the IWM ahead of this, saying it's set up pretty well and being long the calls and everything. I kind of agree with you. I was looking at the chart here too, a little consolidation check back after we had the big move here. And now, boom, you get the continuation of this move. Now, here's the question. You've had this big move all of a sudden, it's like, boom, overnight, IWM goes up 2.5%. Do you chase this move? Like, is this like, oh, it's going to get follow through? Or do you sit here and wait for a little dip and try to buy a dip on this? If you're not in the IWM and you want to be in the IWM, how do you get in?
If you're not in the IWM and you didn't have options, I think you're going to have to wait a little bit. You have to, wait for the first 30 to 60 minutes to actually see, how much of the gap up holds. Sometimes just like an earnings play, what you might want to do is, let today just happen. And then you'll see where the low is, where the gap is, and see where it went to, and see the type of candle it is. And then you could base the trades thereafter. Like when you have like a pro earnings trade, sometimes you get this huge gap up on earnings, and sometimes they sell the gap open and you get a big red candle, and then it's a different trade. Or sometimes, you get like a 5-15 minute low to trade against, and then it closes strong. Then you could be long versus wherever that gap pivot is. Like if you look at the IWM at the last time, okay, just say go to the date, if you put the chart up for November 3rd, right? If you would have bought on November 3rd, which it looked good, went right into 175, the next day it already went into the gap pivot, right there, and the trade was changed. All of a sudden, boom, it wasn't strong, it didn't hold the gap, and it was a different type of trade. So for today, we need to see if today is different, which it does feel different, than that day, which what'll happen is you'll get a candle like that, maybe it goes sideways a day or so and then gets above whatever today's high is in the days and weeks ahead. And then you get your upside follow through towards maybe like a, I was mapping out like 179 to 181, whereas it's a 200-day EMA. If you look at that, on the actual chart, I feel like that could be a likely spot. That's why I bought the 175 calls, thinking, by the Friday after Thanksgiving, maybe we're at 179, 180. That's a good risk reward. And then I bought calls yesterday, thinking nobody, thought this could happen, and that's going to be a pretty nice trade heading into, and what I'll do is I might turn some of it into a call spread and use the move to help finance it, and then I'll probably just sell some and book some just to net some money along the way.
With CPI being like, go ahead, Mitch.
I just wanted to say, chat, smash a like. We got Scott back on. Good audio now. Everybody excited in the chat, so I'll let you keep leading, Dennis.
Yeah, so obviously, IWM's made the trade. What else do you look at now? I mean, Qs have been running already. They were running ahead of this. SPY was really running ahead of this too. We've been running. We never had the check back that IWM did, which is maybe why IWM set up better, as a catch-up trade here. Well, it's catching up a whole lot here this morning here. Do you continue to look at other stocks, like sectors? Like, what do you like here going forward? We set up well seasonality. I mean, November, December is historically a pretty good time to own stocks here. You think this seasonality still keeps the bulls in full control?
I think you might see some different rotational type of flows. Like maybe the Qs open up and some money gets, somebody takes some profits in the Qs, and then some of the laggard sectors play some catch up, and you get a little bit of a reversion to the mean. Like the Qs right now, if you look at it, it's like 383 above the September high of September, which was 380.88, but in no man's land because it's not near the high of July 19th. So the Qs are kind of in no man's land. Obviously the mega caps have been awesome. Like Microsoft is going to be opening up at an all-time high.
Yeah.
So the question is, if it holds up, I think traders looking to see what could catch up to Microsoft. I know, like, I've been in Meta for a few weeks. That just got above that horizontal channel. Like, you want to see like what's not eccentric. Like look at that channel in Meta. The measured move in Meta could be from the bottom of the channel to the breakout above 330. So it's not as extended as like a Microsoft. Even it's not the leader, but sometimes the leader doesn't have as big of gains because of it already kind of priced it in. So I would say like Meta to me is something that I could handle psychologically moving forward because it's not as extended. Microsoft, you can't be buying Microsoft today. You kind of missed it. It was a really nice trade. You don't want to chase something. You don't want to chase this open. You have to be very, very methodical. Otherwise, you could be right in 2 days from now, but wrong in the first 30 minutes and not handle, your trade. So I'd watch Microsoft, see how much of today's gap holds. And then, I think there's some tight setups, in mega cap still. If you look at Google, just put a little bit like a bull flag in, it's already filling that gap. So they're taking some of the trade away if you're not in it already. So that could fill the gap and maybe continue. Amazon, which had good earnings, it's been trading very well. Most have been in that one since the pro earnings gap. Look where the pro earnings gap is, by the way. The pro earnings gap, like every sequence is different, and all these pro earnings gaps have been really good risk-defined ways for a swing trader to be in long and massage the trade. Look at that pro earnings gap. Like, look at this strategy. This is what traders need to look at. That gapped up on earnings, never filled it, and look at the continuation. Okay, so trading against pro gaps help. Look, let's show a few of them even. Like, look at the pro gap traded there in Amazon. Netflix had a pro earnings gap, right? Look at the pro earnings gap in Netflix. Okay, it was and I think it was a little bit higher up, but that led to a bigger move. There it is. So look at that pro earnings gap. This is a great strategy to write down and use for the next multiple earnings quarters, because sometimes when earnings are priced in, they gap up and then fill the gap and then go choppy for a while. Sometimes they hold like that and they lead to a trend up move. There are some other ones, actually ones that I'm in right now that I thought, if the small caps play some catch up, maybe they get some flows. Yesterday I talked about Square. You can look at my Twitter. I'm like, I'm long Square versus the earnings gap. Even though it's a low quality name, I think it could work its way towards the 200-day EMA, which is around 60. There you go. That risk is defined.
You know what else happened in Square last night, Scott, too, was we had a huge insider buy in Square last night, which I actually noted on Twitter. $27 million bet by one of the execs last night. So a huge insider buy, which was sneaky. Nobody was talking about it on CNBC or anything this morning because CPI was getting it all. But that's a huge buy. I mean, sometimes you see these insider buys and they're like 300 grand or 400 grand. Somebody makes a $27 million bet.
That's a good bet.
I would take note of that. So it sets up well, like ducks in a row, where the technicals kind of align. You get a good insider buy, you get a good CPI number. I kind of like your Square trade.
And look at the weekly. People like, oh, it did a lot already. I'm like, what? I'm like, look at the weekly chart. Look where that thing was. It's an absolutely a whole lot of nothing. It's a nothing. And look when it broke the 21 day back. Back then, sometimes I like to look at weekly charts and show people like, oh, how did I get caught in this? How did this happen? If you look at the 8 and 21 day on the weekly, it shows you when Square broke, and you should have got out of Dodge. If you go to the far, like right,
it's
you
probably
draw
gonna be in between here. I have the 9 and the 50 there, but
that was your macro out if you were a fund. And now if you look where we are now, it's absolutely nowhere. Like even that in the moving average is $60. So I'm like, as an active trader, I could be long versus 50. I actually bought some options, so my options are going to pay me really well today. The 52s and the 53s.
Oh yeah. Scott, we're 4% now on the IWM. This is the biggest move I think we've seen all year in the IWM. I don't remember a move of this being up 4% in 24 minutes. This move is nothing short of incredible because the IWM was actually flat going into this number. It was trading flat. So we were up $6.81 in the IWM. Holy, you're going to get paid in these options. Scott, you're taking us out to dinner.
Well, listen, I'm going to do a little disclosure. Little disclosure.
Yep.
Okay, because I do have, so I come in long AI, Datadog, FXI, Meta, Palantir, Square. I'm in an Apple call spread. I'm in a bunch of things. I'm in the IWM 171s for this Friday, 175s for 11/24. I'm in shop calls, Square. I'm into a lot of stuff. I did take a hedge though. Okay, so I'm not going to make like I have 100,000 winners.
I like that.
I sold yesterday the 445 calls. Okay, for Thursday. Okay, if you go to the chart of the SPYs, that was my one hedge. I'm like, you know what? If we come in high and we come down, I have all this stuff on. I need to be able to say, okay, I could, I could collect some premium. So I'm short the 445 calls for Thursday. But in my opinion, I also got it like $1 for it. So I'm down $1.50 in those.
You're doing pretty good, actually.
Which is fine. But I'm okay to be short those, because even if we go to if you go to the SPY chart, even if we go to 448-ish or a little bit higher, I'm only 3 points out of the money, and I collected $1, so I'm losing $2 in my SPY hedge maybe, and I'm up 400% in the IWM and some of everything else. So I did a calculator where I didn't short in the money SPY calls. I'm like, you know what? I don't mind being short at 445 because it's 3 points higher to be a hedge. I did that a few times. So that's how I was able to sleep at night, holding 6 longs, a lot of options, and this and that. So that will take a few $1,000s away, but a lot less than what I'm up.
All right, I'm going to hop in here, Scott, and of course everyone sees these plays. I mean, killer plays for sure, especially in the environment that we're in. The chat wants to know, of course, has the bus left the station? And yeah, I would agree so. And the bus has left the station, like Easy Mike saying. Now, how can we come in here and maybe look for opportunities? Are we looking for kind of dips? What would you be looking at here to come after some?
You can't buy the first 30 minutes now. There's no way. Okay. And if you want to do a cute short, you have to wait for like a 15-minute high, a little relative strength divergence, and then get a cute short. But if you come in flat and you want to get long now, you know what? You can't do it. You have to wait for another setup, because look, everyone's like, oh, did the train leave the station? But no one talks about how 2.5 weeks ago the S&P was at 4,100. Now people want to get in at 4,500, 400 handles higher.
Yeah.
When I was like, you guys follow my Blood in the Street account that I talk about? I was buying it. I bought a 4,300 on the way down, and then I bought it like a 4,100. And people like, what are you doing? You're catching a fall in the knife. I'm like, it's a different account. I don't get paid on that monthly or quarterly. That is a long-term account that I just use when we fall 9 to 12 or 15% off the highs in the S&P. So a lot of people are using their 401, their own IRA or their Roth IRA, saying, I'm only buying a dip when everyone's selling, and you're buying in your Blood in the Street account. I've done that 4 times in the last 5 years. But also, that's a different account than an active account that you can get paid out monthly or quarterly, because that takes time. You don't need immediate gratification in that account. You've got longer term time horizon in that account. I mean, we talk about this all the time. I have my long-term investing account, and I have my short-term trading account. The short-term trading account is a timing account. The long-term investing account is buying good companies at reasonable valuations. When the stocks are crashing, you get reasonable valuations. Right, and you don't have to get worried. You don't have to worry about your November paycheck if you happen to be wrong. You hear the debate on TV now. These macro bears like, oh, I'm right. We've been in the same place for the last 2 years in the S&P, and they're claiming victory, and they've been talking crap about the market for the last 3 months. As we went from 4,100 to now 4,500, and they're still saying they're right because we're in the same spot over 2 years. That's why if you're an active trader, you can't follow these analysts. You can't follow Mike Wilson's of the world. Because eventually they might be right at some point, but you'll blow yourself up trading, trying to be short because Mike Wilson says, earnings aren't going to be great and don't trust this fourth quarter move. Yeah. You have to go with guys like you guys that go over the charts and go over the levels and go over where the leaders are and what's happening.
I want to talk about.
We change our opinion all the time. I mean, on this show, there's always a person that'll hold to what I said 6 months ago or 3 months ago, and they're like, "Well, you're bearish. You were bearish 2 months ago. I heard you." Well, it was time to be bearish 2 months ago. The time to be bearish was not 2 weeks ago. It was time to start bringing stuff in. The market got killed. I mean, there's a certain point in time where you've got to be able to change your opinion.
On that point, can I just say one thing on that point?
Yeah, of course.
That's a great point, Dennis. Everyone was if you go to the chart in the video, every single person was talking about the head and shoulders top pattern in the video. And there was, but necklines could either be support to trap shorts, or they could give way and then you go down another portion. So if you look at the candle on October 31st, of NVIDIA, you know what kind of candle that is, right? Show them that candle. That
right here.
That's what do we call that in narcissistic Redler land?
Well, it looks like an undercut and rally to me.
That's called the Red Dog reversal from
the Red Dog reversal.
I know. You can't. I gotta call it Red Dog.
Come on, I've been on your show for 10 years. You can't.
Yeah, I know. I've been on your show for 10 years. It's a total Red Dog.
You gotta watch the 6:30 show, baby.
6:30. I do it from the ice barrel. Do you ever go in an ice barrel, Mitch?
Oh, I see. I hear you. I know you still rock it, and your fingers were kind of crumbling yesterday. Come on. I listened in, Scott.
The chat was all over it, though. The chat, you got a lot of fans in our chat here. They were all over the Red Dog.
Yeah, Scott. In the morning, I do a lot of news search, so I'm doing news search. I got you on the side, but I enjoy watching you all the time. I love the way you go about it, and definitely, like you said, rock a little music in the morning, get the right feels, get your mind right. Because if your mind ain't right, that's when you really struggle. That's when you make the biggest mistakes. You got to get ready every single day for the market. I love the way you approach it really early. Give yourself some time to digest before the open, where a lot of traders come in at 9 and expect to be ready at 9:15. And then the market opens and it's just so much information overload that they can't handle it.
You're 1,000% right. I remember when we were at 1 State Street, we had 20,000 square feet. That was back like a decade ago. I'd have rows of traders. I would be in since, 6. They started strolling in at 8:45, and they're like, "Oh, what's happening?" I'm like, "Are you freaking kidding me? Go home." I already wrote my note, did 30 charts, did the morning note, did the morning call. And you're coming in and asking me right now what's happening. I'm like, use your resources, you lazy bastard.
Hey, you're getting some love in the chat here. Paul Smith's talking about the best investment I've made in the last 3 years is joining T3 and Scott. So there you guys hear it from the chat themselves. And I do want to mention, of course, that you got a nice little 2-day pass coming up with your virtual trading floor. And you're going to be also addressing NVIDIA's earnings. That I'm telling you right now, I got to catch that for sure. I've been waiting for NVIDIA's earnings for a while. And we're going to find out if it can keep this bullish tune going. Are you leaning towards a kind of a good number on NVIDIA, you think, with AI?
It better be. Otherwise, the tech rally is over. Right now, you still have a long time. You still have till next week. So it depends on where it is. Like right now, 502 is the recent high here. So the question is, does it take out this channel prior? Does it digest here? Like I hope, like right now, to be honest, that it pauses at 502, because what now would be great is if we can go sideways ahead of 500 and change, you then could get a good calculated option play into it. If all of a sudden, you come into earnings and it's already at 525, it's priced for perfection. It's going to be hard to even make money on an option play, because the premiums are going to be so high. So you could be right but be wrong. So sometimes you can get a good move after earnings, but it's not a great setup, and you'll lose with the direction because there wasn't enough opportunities in the option trade. Which I hate when that happens.
Hey, like always, it's good to have you, Scott. Thank you for sticking around extra, fixing the mic and dealing with that. And I know the chat really loved this segment, so thank you for coming on today. We'll have you back on, and we'll see what happens in the market. Guys, keep up with the 630. Also hit that link and join, of course, the 2-day pass. It's kind of a little bit of a free access. So trust me, if you guys want to see some more of Scott, you might want to click that link. Check it out, team.
Yeah, well, what you see is what you get. A lot of people complain about the markets, complain about the situation, but they don't act and they don't take accountability for, figuring things out and using their resources. So click, come in. What you see is what you get. I'm not a brain surgeon. I didn't go to Harvard. I'm just prepared. I get my mind right. I have my levels, and I try and execute. Sometimes I execute poorly. It pisses the hell out of me. When I write better than I trade. But sometimes when it all collides, people can make a lot of money. So with that being said, there's a lot of year left. So make some adjustments if you're not happy where you are.
Love it, Scott. We'll have you back on. Have a great day. Enjoy your trading day, my friend.
Thanks.
Take care.
You too.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, let's go ahead. We'll wrap it up. And like always, you guys see the QR code below. You guys can just scan that and get to the action. It's always good to have Scott.
Great
like
traders
I mentioned,
over at T3. Love that.
I watch the 630 show all the time. It's a good way also, especially to get your day ready, right? So that's going to do it for us. Of course, we went a little bit extra, so do us the favor. Hit that thumbs up. Last comments, Dennis. Leading the bus.
One thing that I have been putting on, which is surprising that I'm getting it on, and maybe I'm going to be wrong on this, but I've been buying the RSP and shorting the SPY, just putting on that hedge, because I think the equal weight will outperform S&P today. Right now, you can put it on flat. I don't totally get it. Maybe I'm missing something here, but 1.36% the RSP is only up, 1.34% on the SPY. I want to own all that little stuff here today. So that's a trade that I've been slowly putting on here right now, is long RSP and short, and this is just day trade, long RSP and short SPY, because I think there'll be some outperformance there. Again, RSP is very illiquid, so you got to work your numbers here. But if you can put that on scratch, and right now they're both up 1.36%, I think you're going to be happy in about 30 minutes.
I love that trade. I love to trade Aldea, and we'll see what happens. I've taken a little bit into the retail trade, And we'll see if that works out for me. If you guys want to find out how that's working out, come over to the next show. That's, of course, live trading. And keep up with Dennis Dick, of course, Triple D Trader. Go do what you do best, my friend. Get after it.
See you
All
guys.
right, Dennis is getting after it. He's getting to his trading game. We'll get over now to live trading. That's coming up next. Don't miss it, team, as I'm excited to get to my trading game. Got a lot of swing trades on. I talked about them. Let's find out how I do today. Of course, I got Lord Ryan. Thank you, Scott Redler, for joining us from T3. Smash the like always. Let us know, guys, what do you want to see more of right here on Pre-Market Prep? We're always here and willing to change the game for you guys out there. If you guys like Pre-Market Prep or just want to give us some feedback, hit the comments after the show. I'll see you guys next time here, and smash the like. And Scott's the GOAT. All right, I'm loving the chat action today. That's what it's all about. Let's get to the trading action.